The first ever 3-game wild card series is done. The Mets, oh no, and we are on to the DS. Fire me up, baby. Hello and welcome to Talkin Baseball, presented by SeatGeek. New code alert, John Boy Playoffs. Doesn't have to be your first time. John Boy Playoffs, 10%. Any ticket you get at SeatGeek, they're the geeks of seats. That means they know what they are doing. Download the app, SeatGeek, super easy to use. They're sponsoring all of our live streams. Huge one coming tomorrow. Yankees Guardians with Chris Rose in the building. The Jambino will be back. So go to SeatGeek, code JohnBoy Playoffs, and save yourself 10% on tickets, which, by the way, that means if you get pretty expensive tickets or tickets to a good event, you save some real money. Like if you're some guy that goes gallivanting to Rams games on your Sundays, you could save good money on expensive tickets there. Trev, how are you?
My guy, Jacob and BBD, we're on to the next round. I'm doing great, man. After a wild card, we got some great matchups set up here. I can't wait to preview them. I think first we're going to check in on those Mets and kind of talk about what happened. Kudos to the Padres for taking care of business. I'm feeling great this morning. I already recorded with C. Rosie because he's out to see you guys.
Yeah.
He's very excited. He's going to have all his Guardians gear on. That dynamic, gonna be electric.
Yeah, John was a little nervous because, it's Chris Rose, and we treat Chris Rose with a level of professionalism, but that's out with fandom. And I'm trying to remind John, like when Chris Rose calls blitzball games, he's constantly calling me fat and short and unathletic. So, like, it's no holds bar with Chris Rose.
A known truth teller, Chris Rose. That's what I'm saying.
SeatGeek. Trev, how are you? Again, podcast, YouTube, we're knifing it up a little bit that we'll wrap up Mets Padres and then we'll get into all the series previews. So Trev, how are you doing? Fun weekend of baseball. I mean, I guess I've been seeing you anyways, so I don't know. I guess we don't need to do like a full wrap.
You already asked me how I'm doing, bro. I said I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Look at me.
I
good.
I wanted you to tell the people
good.
where you were yesterday. It's my favorite.
Everyone knows I went to the Rams game. Of course I did. It was a tough game for the Rams. Without
Sweet
Cooper's
life.
Cooper Cup's crazy 70-yard catch, they had 3 points on offense. So they need to figure some things out. The offensive line looks a little beat up right now, but this is baseball, bro. Come on.
This is baseball. Who cares about your regular season football game? Although talking Giants, hello, happy for the boys, 4-1. Trev, don't care. It's time to talk baseball, and it's time to talk New York Metropolitans versus San Diego Padres. I keep saying the first ever wild card series, and people keep going, well, actually, they did 3-game wild cards the COVID year. And I say, eat bugs. Don't care. COVID year wasn't real. Everyone looks at the Dodgers championship. Trev.
You're hot today, bro. Relax a little bit. Just
Indigenous People Day.
No, you know what it is. Is all these Yankee fans have had this pent-up energy because they got the bye.
Yes.
Let's not go on to the Yankees right now. Let's talk about this game. It was electric.
Padres, Mets.
6-0 Pods in the decisive game. It never was close.
No.
First inning, as close as you're ever going to get, man. Musgrove was on one. Padres strike first. They shut the crowd up. And I think that was the biggest thing. Takeaway from all of these wild card rounds. We have the home field advantage. And that's a thing that, great. You're a higher seed. All 3 games at home. We eliminate the travel day. It all makes sense. You have a little bit of advantage. Or so you think, man. What we've seen is shutting these crowds up, scoring early for the teams on the road is paramount. Winning game 1 in a series like this, I know it doesn't need to really be said, but that's paramount. And I think going forward, before we really get into this game and how it went, I think an emphasis from now on is going to be game 1 in these games. Whether that is you piggyback 2 two of your guys to get game one, and then you have your game 3 starter in game 2. Like, there are going to be things done to make sure that first game is won. It just puts so much pressure on the other team, regardless if you're at home or on the road, to have to win 2 in a row. I think we're going to see an emphasis put on that.
Wild card Saturday, house money day. I was talking about that. I mean, we saw the team playing free and loose is a real thing in sports. You hear football coaches talk about it all the time, because when you're playing free and loose, you're not thinking. When you're thinking less, you're executing. And yeah, I think we saw that. DeGrom did his job, but yeah, this Mets game, Bassett comes out, 2 runs in the first. Nola, how about your Nola boys this wild card weekend? Have a day, have a couple days for their family. The 2 RBI single. Then Trent Grisham, obviously, the independent, another RBI single for him. Manny Machado, the very next inning, it's 4-0, and man, things are starting to get dark at Citi Field. You felt it in the air. Even in the broadcast, you could feel it sinking in. And when it was 4-0, you still had that one swing possibility, right? Like, let's get some guys on the bases, or maybe let's push 2 across, so then hit the 2-run homer, so then the next time a base runner gets on, you have that at the plate. They were looking for it. They only had 1 hit for a while, ended up being the whole game. Eargate happens, Joe Musgrove, and we're checking out his satellite dishes. Nothing there. Padres and Soto. Talk about a backbreaker. A shift-beating chopper from one of the more feared young hitters to ever play this game. And instead of him going 480 up top, he hits one, dinks down the line, 2 more runs, scores. It's 6-0, and that's it, man. Joe Musgrove with an all-time performance, an all-time playoff performance. I think he was the first pitcher ever to go 7 innings with 1 hit or less in some sort of playoff.
Decisive game.
A decisive game. That's what it was. Thank you, Trev. Suarez comes out. How's your hunch piece? Casual. And then we get to see Josh Hader for the first time in this playoffs. That's it. That's all. Padres dominate. And Mets. I guess, Trev, where do you want to go? Padres or Mets?
I think we give love to the Padres, man. We talked about them coming in and having, starters that were hot. They were really twirling the pill coming into the postseason. And they had 3 dudes doing that. And you kind of had to like that for them. And sure enough, Darvish shows up game 1. Snell gets hit around a little bit in game 2, but then Musgrove comes with this incredible performance. I thought it was gutsy. It was kind of like almost what we've come to expect from Joe, though. Like, this guy has turned himself into one of the more fearful pitchers in the National League. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that because he plays in San Diego on the West Coast. But he's doing it on the national stage now, and especially because of Eargate bringing all his attention to this game, people are understanding this guy is the real deal. And if you get these guys on a roll in a playoff series, I mean, that's the recipe for success. Haters coming out of the pen throwing 100. Why was everyone throwing like a tick faster than their regular season performance? Like, and that's like across the wild card series. Is it strictly an adrenaline thing? Is StatCast, like, did they tweak that up a little bit for the broadcast? Like, what are we doing here? Because everyone was throwing cheese.
Could be a juice StatCast, could be actual adrenaline, could be MLB getting the special wild card balls in there. They got a little turbo boosters on there. Like, can't actually rule that out, which is insane.
Oh, I forgot. That's what happened in the Phillies series. They had the little robot balls and they just guided them through the infield. They want Harper to go on. That's what you're saying, right?
Oh, no. Trev, I'm glad you said Padres because it should start there. 1, they're a really good team. I've been hot on the Padres all year, mostly because of their starting pitching, and look what it ended up doing, especially in the decisive game. Joe Musgrove, I mentioned his last 4 starts coming in, 0.41 ERA, only 1 run in his last 4 starts. Maybe that's what you need to know. A 2.93 on the year, coming in hot, and he drops it. There's something powerful to when a pitcher's not scared of throwing anything in the zone, and he was not. And part of that is also when, the couple of the hard balls you did give up, Trent Grisham makes an incredible play on a ball in the gap. A couple line drives right at Soto, and, that's baseball a little bit. So Joe Musgrove isn't pitching from the stretch, and he's not scared of going back in the zone because he's not getting punished at all.
I thought about that too, even with like the McNeil ball to first base. Not hard hit, but well placed. It hits the bag. If that gets past Myers, that's a double, 1 out in the second. That's like an answer inning, and things could be different. But you make the play, bare hand, easy. You made it look easy at least. And you're right, like those type of things keep Musgrove, out of the stretch. They keep the word I'm looking for? High stress pitches.
Yeah.
Off of him, and he's able to go deep into the game because of it. It was just a well played baseball game by the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, and you started saying this, and I want to drive it home more. The evolution of Joe Musgrove, because there was this Pirates fire sale, right? Like they traded Garrett Cole a few years back, and some of their other talented guys. That when Joe Musgrove got traded, let's be honest, he was a 4.23 ERA pitcher in his career with Pittsburgh. Now he got better that the COVID 2020 season, 8 starts, a 3.86, which okay, the advanced stats said it was a little better. You can't always go on ERA. For him to go to San Diego these past 2 years, give 30-plus starts in each season to the tune of a 3.06 ERA. Joe Musgrove has been lights out. San Diego kid. By the way, that extension he signed, 5 for 100, you think with what he just did in the playoffs and what he's done this season, he wouldn't have gotten more on the open market? He would have. But guess what? He's from San Diego. He likes it there. That's awesome. And man, the Braves just locked up Strider again. Maybe baseball starts doing early extensions more.
Yeah.
Could see.
The Braves are putting the blueprint out for everybody.
Yeah.
If they want to follow that, go ahead. I think you have to have the guys to do that. But yeah, more on the Padres. Trent Grisham being like a hero. He would have been MVP of this series if they gave out MVPs for the wild card series. Like that is what we're talking about when we say the numbers go back to 0 when you get to the playoffs. And it's nice to see that. He comes up big when he's been struggling all year offensively. Like this is now, but now in his mind, he's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
When before he couldn't really think that way because he's looking at a horrible OPS up there. And but now it don't matter, bro. And I love that about the playoffs. Nola getting a 2 RBI single. Awesome. Like unlikely heroes are what the postseason is for. I love that Joe Musgrove did his thing, but we kind of wanted him to do that and expected him to do that. When you got guys at the bottom of your lineup coming through in those situations, that is how you win games. Like that is how you win series. That's how you go deep into the playoffs, is having those guys. You can't have a string of outs at the bottom of your lineup. You just can't. If you can get a couple situations like we've gotten from the Padres, that is the recipe for success.
Bottom of their lineup.
Homers from the top of your lineup and timely hitting from the bottom of your lineup.
Bottom of their lineup was 4 for 5 in this game between Grisham and Nola. The 2 walks leading up to that first Nola single, that's brutal. A dribbler single, and you walked Kim and Grisham before that. I know Grisham has become, a threat, and that's how short game series works, but Kim kind of had not. He gets walked a couple times in this game. That hurts a lot in hindsight, especially those early runs that are so important in these games. And then another 2-out hit by Grisham. The Padres, good news for them. They're a really good team. They had 10 hits. They dominated this game. They one-hit them, and they had 10 hits. They will move on, and we're going to be talking about them more, and they're going to have an interesting series with the Dodgers. I do think all eyes turn to the Mets. And, the Mets can be their own punchline. I'm a guy that likes the phrase Metsy as a Getsy. Buck Showalter got rid of a lot of that this year. He changed the whole tone. He changed the vibe, which, by the way, before I fully transition to the Mets, Bob Melvin. How easily could we have said this Padres team, like, Tatis, never happened. Hader was terrible in August. It didn't click. Drury, Bell, even Soto, who they acquired, had underperformed at the deadline. Now, you still got nice pieces in them. But Bob Melvin sneaky kept this team together through the Tatis situation. And San Diego last year, that clubhouse was kind of a problem. Like it wasn't fully talked about, but clearly they got rid of the manager and, they had this decline. Bob Melvin, and Trev, I know he's a guy you played for. He deserves a lot of credit.
He's a communicator, man. He makes you feel good about yourself too, which I think may be the most important thing a manager can do. Make the players feel good about themselves. And you're right. I mean, he steadied the ship. There's no doubt about it. Everyone will say that on the Padres team. And I think that having a manager that communicates with you allows you to just go do your job. You're not worried about anything else. It's like, hey, this is what we expect from you. So you just go do it. I mean, that's what athletes have to do. Most of us, at least, like, tell us what to do. We'll get our work in and then we'll go, dance on the stage. When you have to think about what is it that you want out of me? What should I be doing? Like, those things enter your mind. And all of a sudden, you're not focusing on those dance moves. I know you're envisioning me dancing right now.
Yeah, I didn't think you'd go dancing on the stage.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet, man. Maybe at your wedding. We'll talk about that. You texted me about that yesterday.
Also,
Belmel's a guy.
John Boy just had a really good joke. I had a good joke and Jimmy drove it home. I made a joke that was over the top to Chris Rose about streaming the game with him. And he asked for HR's phone number. I screenshot, I sent it to Jimmy, and he said, send him Dan Rourke's contact info. And that was a really good joke. The New York Mets, Trev, one of the top 2-3 teams in baseball for 5 months of this season. I saw a really tough but accurate meme online that was a Mets fan. It's the clown putting on makeup meme, and the first one was win the series versus the Braves. The second one, there's more makeup on the clown, and it says win one game versus the Braves. The third one is, okay, wild card series at home, let's win. And the fourth one is full clown makeup, and they say, let's do it again next year. Tough. Mets fandom can be tough. I don't want Mets fans thinking like that because, again, I think the culture has changed. I love Lindor, Alonso. Scherzer was definitely beat up. And like you said, with now finding out how important the game ones to these series are, people might think that sentence is dumb, but I truly believe in house money day more than anything. Scherzer being banged up, it hurts. He's a guy that you pay, close to $50 million to be one of those two starts, and he clearly did not have it. It's tough, man. You got caught by the Braves right at the end. You lose this series at home. It's as dark of a feeling as you can have for a really good baseball team. So I don't know, Trev. Where do you go with the Mets?
I just don't see it that way, at all, to be honest with you. I understand you're out of the playoffs. It sucks. I get that. But that's baseball, dude. You won 101 games in the regular season. You were one of the better teams in all of baseball, okay? You actually tied for the division lead, but there's a dumb tiebreaker involved, okay? And yeah, you squandered that with 3 games at the end, so everyone was really pointing to that series. All you had to do is win one. But if that series happened in August, we wouldn't be talking about it the same way, right, dude. And so, I get it. It's dark times right now, and you do have a lot of questions in free agency. But if we're just talking about 2022, I mean, it was a great season. It didn't end the way you wanted it to end, but only one team's season ends the way they wanted to end, dude. It doesn't matter what round you get knocked out in. I really don't think it does. If they went and lost if they win this wild card series, okay, then they have to go play the Dodgers, and they lose to the Dodgers. That's better?
I think a little bit, yes.
Why? Because you won one series? I mean, I get it. You play more games, and you won a series, and that's nice. But
you want the growth, and we talk about this with sports teams and getting experience. How about the Atlanta Braves, who we're going to talk about? They kind of chipped away. They gained some more, battle scars, and then they finally won it. That's not proven in baseball. The Nats team that won, they didn't really have battle scars. But if the Mets lost to the Dodgers, you still end up very sad, and it's not a win, and blah blah blah. Oh, we pay these guys, and we didn't win a World Series. But you also may have lost to a 112-win Dodgers team, and you also could have won the series. So that's where baseball gets really tricky. But I don't know.
My point is,
just
here's
how
my
it
point.
happened in the past 2 weeks is
Sure.
more brutal than
100%.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I think my point is that they did everything right this year. They did everything right. They went out and signed dudes. They went out and were aggressive at the trade deadline. I guess they weren't aggressive at the trade deadline. Maybe that was what they didn't do right.
Yeah.
They tried to be aggressive. Okay, you know what? That's the one thing they messed up on.
Okay.
For some reason, I was thinking Bassett was at the deadline. He was obviously before the season. They ended up getting what? Vogelbach and Ruff. And those were their acquisitions.
I think he was a deadline, but Mets fans were hoping to snag like a Josh Bell.
Josh Hader.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe that's one area they could improve in, but most facets of the 2022 season, they were incredible at. I think if you're going to point to anything about dark times, I think you got to address what's happening in free agency. Chris Bassett, going to opt out. I think he has a mutual option. I think it is DeGrom.
Edwin Diaz
is also a free agent. These are the things that you have to, and more. There's a lot of free agents there. These are the things that you have to address, and these are the things you can be scared of. But who do you got as your owner?
Yeah.
You think Steve Cohen is going to let this team that just won 101 games, do you think he's going to be like, screw it. I don't want to spend any money. Absolutely not. He's going to go after Judge. He's going to try to get DeGrom back. I don't know what they're going to do with Bassett. We'll see. I think he's going to try to get Diaz back. I think they're going to be very aggressive. Now, you can be pissed if you're a Mets fan, and I would totally understand that. Because of the way the season ended. But overall picture, you guys are in a really good spot with an owner that wants to spend money and, some pieces there still. Like we talked about some guys that are leaving. There's still some pieces there. So go supplement it again. Bring those pieces back that are going to leave. Maybe get Aaron Judge over there.
Hey.
I think if you're a Mets
fan,
fan,
cut his mic, BBD.
It can be okay. I'm not saying it's gonna be okay. It can be okay. I think you're gonna go into 2023 feeling pretty confident about your team. How about that?
Yeah, and we'll have a lot of offseason to talk about the Mets. Their pitching staff is going to look very interesting next year. A lot of those guys are free agents. The only guy on offense is really Nimmo, which that's an interesting free agency, but potential LJM team guy. This year was a great step for the Mets, but like you said, with the trade deadline, and I think they had the easiest schedule in September, and they blew it. They got swept by the Cubs. There are some stuff that are glaring about this that are going to sting for a while. But I do want the end note to be the Padres are a good team and a tough playoff matchup, especially when you get Bells and Trent Grisham and those guys clicking.